Hi, this is Michael Ray, trumpet player with Sunrise Orchestra, Kool and the Gang, and Cosmic Crew.
Peace and blessings. I'm Laranah Phipps-Ray, vocalist for the Phipps family, Cosmic Crew, and La Funkalicious. You are inside of the Rayborhood. This is Behind the Cosmic Grind, and we are giving you a winter solstice blog. Enjoy.
I'd like to say welcome the brothers and sisters for this holiday. This is a time of year that's special to me because I'm Capricorn born Christmas Eve. But it's more special because of the great conjunction the planets Jupiter and Saturn have aligned. They're only like 0.1 degree apart. And there's always something going on. At least if Trump realizes that he lost the election, that might be cause to celebrate. But anyhow, we're all going to celebrate this great conjunction at the Rayborhood here in Trenton with the band members. Laos got some things cooking, and Tumas is coming from Philly, and Tom Litton's on bass, and of course the regular Kevin Tanner, Ralph. I just forget his name. Ralph's on drums, I believe, and myself and La, and Troy on percussion. So we're going to have some fun celebrating the spirits, celebrating the chakras, celebrating this time to make changes. This is time of year to make a change. Hope everyone's healthy.
Space Age greetings, beloveds. We're in the Rayborhood discussing cosmic updates, and today I'd like to talk about the dawning of the Age of Aquarius. Why does it feel like the planets are conspiring against us? Exactly. That's my thought, exactly. So 2020 is definitely a year for the books. So far, we've had coronavirus pandemic. We are dealing with the global civil uprisings and Black Lives Matters movement, police reform, and even in wilder news, the presidential election and all of the chaos that has ensued as a result of this. We're at the end of 2020 now, and I can absolutely say it's officially nutso. But here's the thing: the astrologers of 2020 might explain why everything has been so chaotic, so intense, and just nonstop action-packed. In fact, astrologers have been warning us about 2020 for years, and this is the year that delivers a number one of rare, intense, and life-altering planetary moments that are shaking our foundation personally, politically, socially, and just forcing us to adapt to an entirely new sense of normal. Would you agree? I certainly do. Our daily lives, as well as the global landscape, have changed drastically since we rang in the New Year's for 2020. I mean, we started 2020 with a bang, right? We were excited. And we had all of these resolutions that we were going to embark on and all of that. And but the thing is, we're ushering in an entirely new astrological era. The astrology of 2020 has been a hot topic in the astrology community for years. And not only astrologers, but leaders of different cultures have referred to this year as a portal, a threshold humanity will cross in order to begin a new era. Cycles of different planets are coming to an end and bringing drastic changes that will unfold over the next 30 years. Astrologers have known that the rare and epic celestial happenings of 2020 sprinkled throughout this year would bring large-scale changes, cataclysmic events, and full paradigm shifts. But no one knew exactly how these energies would play out in our real time. And boy, did they play out. So first we have the epic conjunctions. So a conjunction in astrology is a planetary aspect that describes two or more planets hitting the same degree of the same sign in the zodiac at the same time, which causes their energy to combine and often intensify. Remember that cartoon, Wonder Twin Powers Activate? Well, here we go, yo. Conjunctions are common, but when they involve certain slowing movements of planets, they become much more rare and a lot more powerful. And there are actually 3 major planetary conjunctions on the 2020 agenda, all involving the social and transcendental outer planets and bringing major changes into our lives. At the center of this year's rare transit were the conjunctions of Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. The 3 of them met each other in Capricorn, and with this broad purpose of deconstructing and reconstructing the basic structures of our lives. For all intensive purposes, it's a personal and collective evolution. So, starting with January of 2020, we started with a cosmic bang, and it gave us 0 time to adjust. We kicked off the year with Capricorn's season having a lunar eclipse, a full moon that happened on January 10th. But this celestial event paled in comparison to the effects of the rare and intense Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. It was heralded in January on the 12th, which was the first of the 3 major conjunctions. So this planetary meetup began to turn things upside down on a personal and global level. It marked the first time that Saturn and Pluto, which represents restriction, structure, and destruction, transformation, respectively, they met up in the sign of Capricorn. Since 1518, more than 500 years ago, if you're counting, this is the last time that something like that was seen. That was 1518. So, and this is really very, very significant, because anytime these 2 cosmic players meet up in any sign, we experience serious global shifts. So, and we'll talk about some of those global shifts at a later date, because I really want to discuss them. But I just want to keep this really broad and slightly general. The global shifts were experienced indeed because of that Saturn, Pluto conjunction. Within a few short days of the eclipse and the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the World Health Organization, who announced this mysterious coronavirus-related illness, spreading in Wuhan, China, an illness that we now know as COVID-19. And as we can see via hindsight, this was the beginning of a massive shift and a global unraveling of power structures that were about to emerge along with this global pandemic. I call it the plandemic. Astrologically, though, it's easy to see how this intensity was propelled forward by the planetary energy, because this conjunction marked the first of 3 major ones to occur in 2020. So these things that are just beginning, this energy of the planetary meetup, it kind of makes sense when you look at it from that perspective. It was one of the biggest astral quakes of the year, the aftershocks of which have been felt since. We feel them every day, But this was predicted in the cosmos. We could see the setup of this. Then you have this Capricorn Stellium. So when multiple planets cluster together near the same degree of the same zodiac sign, it's known as a stellium. The planet, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction of January was actually a larger Capricorn stellium, as a slew of other planets joined them in the same area of the zodiac, causing this huge flux of energy focused on the traditional, the patriarchal, power-orientated energy of this zodiac sign. Capricorn. And some of these major planets continue to dominate in this zodiac sign throughout this year. So the Capricorn stellium forced us, especially those of us in the U.S., to come face to face with our own karma, how it impacted the infrastructure of our nation. The authority and power of our government is under review as a result of this Capricorn stellium, This has been more than clear through the civil uprisings and global protests that have taken place around the globe through the summer. Planets have and will continue to cluster in a traditional and authoritative sign of Capricorn through the rest of 2020, which we're almost at the end, but we got to get through all of Capricorn here. And it'll give us a lot of time to reckon with energies related to these traditional structures and rigid institutions. Kind of smells like a revolution to me, y'all. And then we have these retrogrades. There are so many retrogrades. Even if you're not deep into astrology, you probably are aware that retrogrades don't have the best reputation, as they can cause all sorts of mishaps, confusions, trip-ups, and general messes. These regularly occurring backspins aren't actually bad. They're all about reviewing the past, reckoning with decisions, and being forced to slow down and take stock of everything from your beliefs to your goals. Comes as no surprise that virtually every single one of the major planets have been in retrograde during 2020 at one point or another. Even those that retrograde less frequently, like Venus and Mars. This year's retrogrades have had a rare nature, as many of them are performing they were performing unusual astronomical movements. Some months of the year so far have brought upwards of 5 retrogrades taking place at once. And if we want to look at the current real world 2020 events, it's important to look at both Mars and Mercury, because they retrograded during the time of the election. This past 2020 election was Mars and Mercury retrograde. This has never happened before in history. That's important to know. Mercury retrograde brings confusion when it comes to thinking, timing, and information sharing, which casts a shadow of concern over things like vote counts. Many people making these logical choices and the transmission of accurate information. With Mars in retrograde in 2020, we're dealing with the potential for the repressed rage to come bubbling to the surface, as well as a general lack of initiation, stamina, passion, which I can absolutely relate to. We are experiencing that personally. But the circumstances that could have also unsettled or at least notably influenced the energies. The firepower of Mars in Aries. Mars entered Aries on June 27th of 2020, which is notably because Aries is the warrior planet's home sign, and Mars is at its most headstrong and aggressive while it's here. Mars rules over things like war, violence, and even the physical body. So this placement of intense energy, to say the least, has all sorts of implications for everything from continued civil unrest, abuses of power, and even the spread and toll of this coronavirus. Mars in Aries is explosive. There's no getting past that. But it's not just the explosive energy of this placement that we have to keep in mind. It's the fact that Mars stays in this zodiac sign for a very extended amount of time throughout the year. It's just stayed there. So due to the fact that Mars retrograde 2020 takes place in the middle of its journey, the extended Mars in Aries transit put us in that prime position to direct our energies head first into change. But it also inspired impulsivity, violence, certain rumors of war. The rest of 2020, we've been seeing that, Mars doesn't move out of this sign until early January of 2021. So hold on, folks, because we'll be dealing with that ragey, impulsive, primal energy of Mars in Aries until early January. And it has a tendency to prompt bad tempers, to straight out, all in out wars. So hold on. The Cancer Capricorn eclipse cycle. That happened during the July 4th eclipse. So eclipses in astrology, which happen in a series that take place about twice per year, represent sudden change, endings, beginnings, revelations, and they all align us with our fate. So they're always extremely intense. But the eclipse cycle on the Cancer Capricorn axis, which really began in the summer of 2018 and came to a close on July 4th of 2020 this year, it hit us especially close to home on both a personal and a collective level. It had us dealing with issues of our security, our safety, our comfort zones, our traditions, our relationships to authority, and think about it, think back. These are all things that we were all dealing with. The eclipses have been one of the major forces dominating the flow of 2020. We began this year with a full moon lunar eclipse in Cancer on January 10th, which was both chaotic and transformational, as I mentioned earlier. And it took place within a day of the WHO's announcement of the coronavirus-related illnesses spreading in China. So now let's fast forward to the summer of 2020, which heralded that next eclipse season, a full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. And this took place on June 5th, which coincided with the national uprising calling for police reform and racial justice in the aftermath of George Floyd's death. Because this eclipse was the first of a new eclipse cycle on the Gemini Sagittarius axis. So it had the energy of this fresh start, this newness. The fight is just beginning. So the following months brought two more eclipses. It brought a solar eclipse, a new moon in Cancer, and a lunar eclipse, a full moon in Capricorn. Both were incredibly intense as well. But the full moon eclipse happened to fall on the 4th of July, aka the United States birthday. This shook up things deeply in relation to the power structure and the authority figures that run this country. And we've been watching this play out throughout this year, wrapping up the year with a great conjunction. Remember the major conjunctions that are blowing up 2020. Remember all that we talked about? Well, the final one is set to perhaps be the most intense of them all. On December 21st, Jupiter and Saturn are meeting in a conjunction aspect in the Aries sign of Aquarius. These planets both deal with large-scale issues of authority and leadership in different ways. And when they meet, it's known as the Great Conjunction. This only happens every couple of decades, about 20 years. The Great Conjunction in December of 2020 will be the first one in 20 years, and the last one that was in the sign of Aquarius was in 1623. We can't expect to have a lot of ambivalence and confusion around what the next steps are that we need to take in order to move or evolve forward. In other words, both our brains and our hearts will be getting these mixed signals, and we'll be unsure about what to prioritize or to focus on. This confusion is likely to span into the societal and political level as well, as we are seeing another outbreak of coronavirus and confusion as to the precautions we should take. And we're being told so many different things. But this is a time of upheaval and revolution, which will create a better life down the road over time for all of us. So do not fear and do not be afraid to stand, because 2020 definitely isn't going to have that great Hollywood ending. Okay? It's got a whole bunch of messiness, pain, confusion. But what it's really doing is clearing the way for better things. So hold on, beloveds. So what's next? Knowledge is power. And we should trust that in all this intensity, it's necessary for our collective growth and to help us embrace a totally new way of being. Ultimately, all these transits combined are set to prepare us for a whole new era. The Age of Aquarius, which will be in full swing once Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto are all in Aquarius. That's the key. This is extremely significant because for the last 200 years, Jupiter and Saturn have been meeting in earth signs, focusing on energy and material gain and security. But as the Age of Aquarius begins, instead, humanity is set to focus on the innovative and socialist ways that only the air elements can generate for us. 2020 has shaken us all to our core and has helped us to expose the cracks in our society's foundation. We've all experienced the shift in a way that relates to the power and it also relates to safety. So we should be thinking of this year as training wheels for a revolutionary couple of years to come that could change the way we relate to our communities, to ourselves, and what we value in society. So on that note, just know we are all connected. We are all one. Many souls left the planet this year. And that's a sad and a hard thing to deal with. So we must begin to prepare or continue to prepare for these conjunctions. Hold on. We have a lot of things in store. Remember, this is the dawning of the Age of Aquarius.
This is Michael Ray. Happy Soulstice, and space is the place.
I am Laranah Phipps-Ray, and you are inside the Rayborhood. Thank you for your time and your attention. We love you. Namaste.